Good morning.
All right. I'm so happy to get going with some wake up stories today. We've got a good little pup right here next to me. I think you can see her little bum. She's a very happy girl. Yes. And I'm on my second cup of coffee. Cheers. And we are continuing on with the first book of Everworld, Search for Senna. And we are on chapter 24. We're going to be doing 24 and 25 this morning. And where we left off, David and April were in the real world while they were sleeping in Everworld, but David just woke up in Everworld. So, damn it, Christopher yelled. He turned his head and looked at me furiously. You woke me up. Why did you wake me up? I was back home. I was just about to carry out a serious refrigerator raid. My mom made me cheesecake, a strawberry cheesecake, and I don't mean one of those things from a mix. The woman can make cheesecake. Then he looked at me again, more dubious. David, are you spooning me? To my abject horror, I was. In the night, actually day, but it was dark in the barn, in our utter exhaustion, I had cuddled up with Christopher. I pushed him away and jumped to my feet. April and Jaleel stuck their heads around the corner looking into the stall. Oh, you're up? Jaleel asked. We'd been up for a few seconds, but we didn't want to disturb you two. Frankly, well, he said with a not at all innocent grin, you look like you might want some more time together. That is just so funny, Jaleel, Christopher said, climbing to his feet. I thought so, April said. Christopher brushed away straw from his jeans. So let me just ask. Anyone else have, shall we say, interesting dreams? I called you, David, Jaleel said. Woke up your mom. She was pissed. She didn't seem to want to get you to the phone. I wasn't there anyway, I said. April and I went to look in Senna's room. She's missing, Christopher said. Everyone at school's been talking about it. The cow nosed me, pushing me aside so she could reach the hay I'd slept on. The milking was long since over. Dim exterior light penetrated the barn from the far end, where the door stood open. It was day. Day here, anyway. Maybe back in the world, it was already a week later. I walked toward the light. Parallel universes, Jaleel said. What? I think that's what this is. How else are you going to explain it? We're here, we're there simultaneously. Only not, because time here and time there are running at different speeds. It's magic, April said. Enchantment. Magic my ass, Jaleel said. We stepped out into the brilliant sunlight. The grass was green fire. The sky looked like that blue sky wallpaper you get on Windows computers, perfect, with a perfect mix of fluffy white clouds. Most of the cows were off on the upslope munching grass. Cows in one loose gaggle, sheep in another. A stream I hadn't noticed earlier tumbled and leaped down the slope. White water, but far too narrow and shallow for even a kayak. Hell of a coincidence having two universes where so much is the same, don't you think? Christopher pointed out. Sheep and goats and cows and grass, and the sky is blue and the water runs downhill, and the local big shots are all mythical gods, and oh, by the way, everyone speaks English. Very Earth-like for being a parallel universe. The Hetwan are not Earth-like, Jaleel pointed out mildly. Neither are the laws of physics. We fell too slowly, but gravity seems to be the same here as always. Loki changes size whenever he wants, wolves talk, and a giant snake calls Loki daddy. That snake can't exist, you realize. No way. Not on Earth. Not in our universe. Neither can that wolf. Animals are a certain size for a reason. That wolf, that big, he should have elephant legs to carry the weight. You increase height and length, you increase weight geometrically. You need a different design. You can't have some tiptoeing wolf that's the size of a Simosaurus. Laws of physics, man. Laws of freaking physics, which do not change anywhere in the universe. Anyone else notice anything weird about that one horse, the one grazing off by himself? April asked. I squinted. April must have good eyes, but when I squinted harder, I saw it. The horn, the single horn, like a 10-inch spear that stuck straight out from the horse's head. Okay, I said as calmly as I could. That's a unicorn. Jaleel nodded. Yep, that's a unicorn. What's keeping the fairies and leprechauns and the Keebler freaking elves? Christopher demanded. Anytime now some little toad boy with a shamrock is going to pop up out of the grass and say, oh, he's after me Lucky Charms. I want to go home. I want my mommy, or at least her cheesecake. I spotted Thorolf. He was coming downhill from the nearest sheep. He was walking in giant steps, happiest guy in the world from the look on his face. The ewe is pregnant and the wind is fair, he bellowed. I glanced at Jaleel. So what? He made a search me face. Thorolf galumphed on over and slapped me on the shoulder. The ewe is pregnant. Ha ha ha! I knew Ildric's ram would do his duty by us. She'll have a fine litter come spring. Oh, I said, trying to sound interested. So, baby sheep, right? He stroked his beard thoughtfully. I must make a sacrifice to Frey before we sail. I can't leave something like that to Gundren. She'll decide to be thrifty and offend Frey with a paltry sacrifice. Sail? Christopher asked. We sail? You mean you and the other Vikings? Thorolf looked at Christopher perplexed. And you as well, of course. We have to sail somewhere. Thorolf tilted his head indulgently, like he was dealing with not very bright children. You are free to sail or not as you wish, but these are Loki's lands, now that he rules the castle, and when Olaf Ironfoot has moved on with his host, the priests and the creatures of Loki will soon find you. Ah, Christopher said. Thorolf clapped a big hand on Christopher's back. Don't you fear battle? You don't fear battle, do you? Ha ha! Me? No, love battle. Who are we? Who are we battling? The sun worshippers, of course. Crafty, cruel, and hard men. Thorolf said. They slaughter prisoners like pigs, making sacrifices of thousands at the time. Though they tell tales that they first adore them, feeding them delicacies by the buckets and wine by the barrel. Ugh, the women. The sun worshippers? April asked. Yes, yes. We go to seize a ransom for the Allfather. We must free wise Odin. With Thor lost to us, who else will save us from the Hetwan? I shrugged. I don't know. I'd been wrong, but the Hetwan were becoming my problem. These sun worshippers, do they have another name? April asked politely. Thorolf nodded. All peoples have more than one name, child. These sun worshippers are also called the Mexica, the blood drinkers, the man-eaters, the Aztecs. Aztecs. We're going to hop a bunch of Viking longboats and go kick butt on some Aztecs, Christopher asked incredulously. Thorolf mistook that for enthusiasm. We will trample out the vineyards where the grapes of wrath are stored. Ha ha ha! The village was a swarm of activity. Shaven-headed slaves were rushing back and forth, mostly shuttling enormous loads down to the dock. There they dumped their burdens off into the boats, rowed by more slaves. The supplies moved out to the ships, all to the encouraging bellows of Viking petty officers. It was afternoon. With the sun already dropping from its peak, it wasn't hot. I had the feeling it never really got hot around this place. Nevertheless, out on the boats I saw Viking crews stripped to the waist, trouser legs rolled up. They were coiling ropes, checking the caulking between the strakes, shining up the mast to check on the seating of a single spar. They hauled on stays and went over the oars looking for cracks. They attached new sails and supervised the slaves who were manhandling pallets of bread, entire sides of beef, live sheep, live chickens, and barrels of what might be water or beer down to the shallow holds. It was a picture of purposeful, serious, directed activity. "Wow, mass confusion," Christopher said. "Uh-huh," I said. "Only if you don't know what you're looking at. I'll tell you something. These boys have done this before. These guys are pros." The ships, on closer examination, came in several sizes, and no two were identical. Each had the almost matching stern and prow that would allow the boat to reverse without turning around. The same single mast and square sail, but on some the figurehead blazed with silver and gold, and some were quite long and large. I could count 25 oarlocks aside. That presupposed 50 rowers when needed, plus petty officers and at least one guy to handle the big starboard-mounted steering oar. I did not see the long boat with Loki's symbol, the one that had carried the old man back to the ritual sacrifice. But it would have been easy to overlook in the crowded harbor. "That is our ship," Thorolf said, pointing to a boat of average size lying well out in the water. "She is called Dragon Shield. She is one of Harald Goldtooth's ships. She has 3. He has 3. The Dragon Shield is his flagship. Her figurehead was carved and inlaid with gold by dwarves." "Of course, dwarves had to be dwarves," Christopher muttered. "What loony bin is complete without dwarves and elves?" "There are a few elves around these parts," Thorolf said sadly. "Elves are found to the south, though once they lived nearby in greater numbers. Much has changed, and not for the good. We were fortunate enough to be given a bench on Harald's ship. Since Loki came and strangled Earl Jens, may that good man have been carried swiftly to Valhalla. We have been allowed no ships in this land. No ships, but the tribute ship." He spit on the ground. It was a statement of his feelings about the tribute ship and Loki more than generally. A rowboat nosed up to the pier and Thorolf jumped in, moving like an experienced sailor, taking the roll easily. He reached up a hand to me. I ignored it and jumped across, landing on a vacant bench, catching my balance almost as easily as he had. I saw an eyebrow raise. A sailor knows a sailor. Together, we got Jaleel, April, and Christopher into the boat. The slave oarsmen rowed us out into a thicket of small boats and reminded me of Dan Ryan Expressway at rush hour. "We saw a unicorn back on your farm," April said. Yes, we see unicorns there from time to time. They say that unicorns may only be handled by virgins," he said with a sly wink at April. "Kind of makes you regret that homecoming dance, huh, April?" Christopher said brightly. April batted her eyes. "You shouldn't listen to rumors." "You know what they say about rumors. They're always true." At one point, we came around the sheltering point out into more open water. I saw the castle, the very wall where we'd been hung by our wrists. I had a dark, nasty feeling about those massive stone walls. I had seen a small part of the horrors contained in the castle and in the tunnels that cut deep into the black cliffs. My blood was on those walls. "Thorolf," I began as casually as I could, "have you ever heard of a girl named Senna? Some say she's a witch." Thorolf glanced over his shoulder up toward the castle, a nervous reaction. Don't talk to me about witches. Do you want to curse this entire voyage? Jaleel shot me a look. You know, we may have enough on our hands without worrying about Senna. We're getting ready to sail away. Who knows how far, I said. She may be here. We may be abandoning her. She may be there, Jaleel argued. After all, if the big creep lost her, what's to say she's anywhere around here? If he's looking for her, maybe we should stick close to him. If he finds her, we find her. Jaleel shook his head. That's fine, except for one little problem. He finds us, we're dead. Dead, we aren't much use to Senna or anyone else. April said, You know, David, maybe things aren't as random as you think. Maybe we're doing exactly what we have to do. Yeah, the great cosmic all is guiding our steps, Christopher said in mock serious. Karma, dude, it's all like karma. I looked again at the castle and then at the village. I was looking for something, a sign, maybe, hoping for intuition to guide me. But all I had was a memory of a dream. Senna calling me names that made her angry. Names that might someday be mine. Maybe a hand was guiding me and all of us. Maybe even it was Senna's own hand. Life's so much easier if you think that way. So much easier to blame some unseen force. I closed my eyes and felt the last of the dream, the moment that she had softened, become warm, and pressed her body against mine. That was the Senna I would find. But Jaleel was right. I'd have to live to do it. All right. We will continue on Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are getting so close to the end of this book. I'm so excited. Like, the next books are so good. I'm just really looking forward to it. So, y'all have a good day. Bye.